unlike Martin Luther, I don't look to break up a winning combination. So the question is, will Jurgen Klopp, John, for this one against Wolverhampton Wanderers, does he stick with Fabinho as the 6, or does he pop him back into centre-half because he thinks it's a little bit different?
I think he'll stick. I think it was such a good performance. I think the balance was so good, and you saw at the end, how much it meant to them, that win, and it was a win that wasn't necessary in the grander scheme of things, but it was very much needed. And I think you'll just ask them to go again, especially with the fact that it's 5 days. 5 days seems the sweet spot for this Liverpool team, doesn't it? If we could play every 5 days, we'd win forever.
Yep.
But unfortunately, it doesn't work out like that. We struggle on 3, awful on 10. and so it's one of them, isn't it? But I think the fact that it is 5, I think you'll just ask them to go again and just keep that winning feeling amongst them.
With them, they just looked, to me, the best thing I think about the game is that they should go in ahead at half time, but they don't. But it didn't matter, and they ensured it didn't matter. And I think there is something, I think it is worth saying. I do agree with you. I do agree with you. But I do think that the very fact that it was a different competition, that you feel like a bit like it's refereed differently, that it was a flight, you know what I mean, a Budapest rooming together, all of that sort of stuff. I feel as though we might have to put up with the idea that this Liverpool side might just be a slightly better beast for European competition for the rest of this season. I haven't got high hopes for a classic on Monday night, is what I'm saying.
Quite possibly that's the case. You mentioned the different referee in there. There's a different feel. Also the opposition as well. I think they'll just do things a little bit differently. I think it's become a thing in the Premier League where you do this against Liverpool and I don't think that's necessarily the case. Look, they've all got videos and football is a small world and things like that. But I think just generally speaking, when you're playing against the top teams, you know what I mean? I think they've got what they're good at, and they're not going to suddenly start playing like Burnley or
yep.
sort of Brighton did even. And so I think, not that everyone's been exactly the same how we come across, but there's been definitely much a game plan, playing sort of against Liverpool. And I think as well that the players need credit in that for what you just said. They go in at half time and a lot of talk. You saw Wijnaldum's press conference before the game and also Robertson. There was almost like, this is on us, to sort this out, not put our heads down when things are going wrong, and to deal in games better with setbacks, and I think that's what he did as well.
When you talk about setbacks, I think it's helped them in Europe. I think the one thing they do really well in both legs against Leipzig in the end is just manage periods of the game, and that's what they were really good at ultimately for 2 seasons, was managing through. This is what the next 10 minutes means. This is what the next 10 minutes things. I was at Molineux last year. It might have been my last away game actually. Molineux. I'm trying to work that out at the minute. Last year, and there's periods where they're better than Wolves, and there's periods where Wolves are absolutely killing them. They've got them up the wall, second half, they get it back to 1-1, and then Liverpool are able to stabilise. And if anything, it's, Manchester City last season crumble when the Wolves counter happens, when Wolves get back into the game. And I think it speaks volumes sort of what's lost that's what they've not been good at this season, is that weather the storm. I think that's what maybe they might have to do a bit of at Molineux as well this time, is just remember how to weather the storm, and it can inoculate them against what's to come next.
Yeah, and that's a personnel thing as much as anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can talk about attitudes and things, but when
you've got Virgil van Dijk.
Exactly, or not just even just Virgil, but the idea of a settled backline of lads who've sort of gone through this sort of thing together and have got things they can point at, rather than, remember when we did this at this place, let's sort of do it again, and so Virgil would obviously massively help, but I think any sort of settled backline of 2 centre-halves and 2 full-backs, I think would have sort of, helped as well. And so I think that's where the issues have come, and that's where the familiarity and looking to your left and looking to your right and trusting sort of what you've got and trusting the lads sort of in the trenches with you, if you like, sort of isn't there for them at the moment, and so it's tricky, and you're right to say that we shouldn't necessarily assume that everything is going to be sort of hunky-dory from now on, because it hasn't worked out like that in the other games where we think, oh, there was 2 good away wins, wasn't there, in the middle of all the bad home ones. But I do think, I don't know, Wednesday felt a little bit different to me, and I am hoping that there's a even different competition, not being on a plane, there still is some sort of positive sort of residue from that.
They themselves, I think Wolves are dead interesting. I think they've suffered not dissimilarly to us. I actually think, the smaller squad even than us, they've felt like riding a crest of a wave upwards. I think Molineux, I really like Molineux and I like the Wolves crowd in that I would not want it anywhere near us, but I like the fireworks, I like the fire, I like hi-ho silver lining, I like the fact that they've got their own thing going on. I really do. I do like them an awful lot, and I think they've missed the supporters as much as anyone else in the division, as much as us, and I think all of that, it's conspired for them to have a bit of a rocky season.